Flicker. I walked past it every day on my way home from school. I thought of it as the House of the Dead, the fallen house of Usher, under-themed to the omen as I walked past. It was surrounded by wizened trees, slightly hidden but visible enough from the road to be imposing. I longed to see inside its doors and find its skeletons. But that day I was not thinking about the house, but rather who lived there. I was thinking about Beth. Beth. Cute. Long chestnut hair. I had liked her ever since her family moved into the House of the Dead. I'd had my chance in the summer but blew it, a typical teenage failed romance. It hadn't lasted long. I'd not seen Beth at school that day, but I thought little of it, just assuming she was sick. The day had been uneventful, the normal routine of lessons, lunch and larking around. After the last lesson I headed out of school and into the gloomy winter afternoon. As I approached the house, I prepared myself for its foreboding appearance from the dark. It seemed empty, devoid of life. An upstairs window was faintly illuminated. As I passed, something caught my eye. Someone was standing at the window staring out at the road. It was Beth. The figure was unmistakable, her frame backlit. I could see her facial features and her flowing hair, see the dim glow of the light on her skin. She was dressed in a long, plain nightdress. Instantly I felt regret. I had treated her badly. I was filled with the sensation of wanting to apologise, to talk to her. Impulsively I waved. That's when I suspected that something wasn't right. She did acknowledge my action, nodding her head slightly. Even from this distance I could feel there was something vacant about her demeanour, a deepness in her eyes. I'm not sure why, but somehow I felt she was trapped, lost. It wasn't sadness, it was something else, something deeper. She was watching me, motionless, eerie in her silence. I felt uneasy. I took a step back. I continued to watch her at the window, completely still, her stare cutting through me. It seemed that I had been motionless for hours, but it was just seconds. I moved on, but kept glancing back. She had shifted slightly, still visible in the window as I pressed on, and eventually lost her in the skeletal frames of the surrounding trees. I shook my head, feeling tense inside. After a few steps, two shapes appeared side by side from the gloom, heading towards me. As the shadows formed into figures, it became clear that it was a woman and a girl. I shifted slightly to give them both room to pass, lost in my own thoughts. Hiya! The voice was unmistakable, sombre, uncertain whether to speak or not. I looked up in response and froze. It was Beth, looking directly at me. Her head lying across her shoulders, her hazel eyes clear to see, alive and full of emotion. Her unexpected presence frightened me. I had been scared before, several times, high up on cliff tops, ready to abseil, watching horror films. Yet this was different. It was visceral. It chilled me. She saw my reaction and her expression turned puzzled. Her mother was next to her, holding Beth by the elbow. Everything okay? Beth asked, looking at me. It took a moment for me to respond. How did you do that? I asked. Do what? I just saw you at the window in your house. No, you didn't, Beth replied. I've been out with my mum all day. We're just getting back. I've been off school today. A family matter. I looked back at Beth's house, peering through the surrounding trees at the upstairs window. There was nothing there, but for a moment I thought I caught sight of a fleeting shadow, and the light seemed to dim slightly. A flicker. I turned back to Beth and met her eyes, lost myself in them for a second. See you tomorrow, she said, as her mother led her onwards. It was somewhere between a question and a statement. I watched them as they moved into the shadows of the house. I ran the rest of the way home. My hand shook as I tried to put the key in the keyhole. In the silent sanctuary of my house, I waited alone for my mum to return from work. I turned on the television to distract my thoughts and fill the living room with noise. Round the Twist was just starting, a show that I usually watch with glee, but not tonight. The show's playful theme music echoed around this dark living room. Have you ever felt like this? No, I whispered into the shadows. No, I haven't. Strange things happen to us all the time. Moments we just cannot explain. Mostly you just shrug it off. Yet sometimes, just sometimes, you can't.